Star Moore over on Instagram, along with a few other people, asked for a life update, so here it is for those who care for some reason. We'll call this a 2023 wrap up, Things I'm Thankful for edition. We kicked off 2023 with a house fire that not only made a barely livable house completely unlivable, I honestly did not know what I was going to do. In desperation, I threw up a GoFundMe to try and replace some of the stuff we lost. In addition to some of my followers, my friend Renee, the appliance repair tech, came to my rescue, boosting my story to her followers, and for that, I will forever be thankful. We were actually able to move down the block and buy a house from my neighbor Bob's widow. This house was in dramatically better condition. The first thing I noticed was people stopped getting sick as often, which I suspect was due to a leaky roof in the old house and some mold in the walls. So I'm glad we were able to get out of there. Renee not only helped us replace stuff, but she may have saved our lives, which I am thankful for. Shortly after we moved, however, and before we were able to move our surviving stuff over, we came down with COVID for a week. Thankfully, we were all vaccinated, so it was over very quickly. No one needed to be hospitalized. Unfortunately, in that time, our neighbor who lived across the creek had been watching our vacant house and decided that was the right time to burglarize it. And despite the fact that another neighbor's security camera had caught them in the act, although not very clearly, I actually have a few hours of this footage. And we found a few of the stolen items in a pawn shop window in Pennington Gap, one county over, where the pawn shop owner let us buy the kids' guitars back for the cost that he paid for them, around $125, and kindly let us take a picture of my neighbor's ID that he used to pawn the items. The police still declined to press any charges. I've begun replacing my tools, but they got us for quite a lot. They took anything that even seemed like it was of value, even my good things box, a jewelry box my oldest son had made years ago for Father's Day, but I kept various like pins and patches and stickers and little trinkets the kids have given me over the years. In May, an appliance company flew me out to California to do some promo work for the Best of Orange County event, and that was pretty cool, and I'm thankful for that. At the end of May, I went to Atlanta and did a creator meetup with a bunch of other ATRX creators, which I'm also thankful for. I even got to experience what life was like for a voiceover artist. Hey, I'm no epic voice guy, but who is, I ask you? And somewhere in there, my wife and I managed to sneak away and celebrate our 22nd wedding anniversary, which I'm thankful for. In June, we decided to tackle some of the plumbing problems that were plaguing us in the downstairs bath. After all, this is a 120-plus-year-old house. We discovered that somebody had poured paint down the downstairs drain. So we hired a contractor to do some of the rough plumbing, and I was going to do the finish work. The guy came highly recommended, and he was reasonably priced. His license was up to date, but almost immediately I started seeing red flags, and I should have trusted my gut, but I didn't. I didn't want to be the one looking over his shoulder because I know I hate it when my clients do that to me. But long story short, he did not know what he was doing, and I ended up having to go in after him and fix the stuff that he fixed wrong. More than a few times we had to go rent a motel room just so we could take a shower. But thankfully, that's all behind us, and still we persevere, which I'm thankful for. In July, we got the chance to go down to Orlando and hang out with my in-laws, and they took us and the kids around to the Space Center, to Gatorland, and to Universal Studios. We even got to have dinner with some pirates, which I'm thankful for. Theme parks are expensive. My in-laws had just moved from California to Florida, so they had a lot of stuff they wanted to get rid of, and so we filled up a small U-Haul prepared to bring it back. And once again, tragedy struck. As we were heading back on July 16th at around 10 p.m., I hit something in the road as I was coming around a turn in Asheville, North Carolina, and we rolled the car and ended up upside down. I had some head trauma. The kids thankfully just got some scrapes and cuts, and Jennifer broke her neck. She had to have surgery to replace some vertebrae and luckily had no spinal cord damage, although there is some slight nerve damage on her left side. Her left hand and arm are not as strong as they used to be. Immediately following the accident, Medicaid conveniently decided to drop us, so we ended up with a lot of medical bills. We've got applications in for various forgiveness programs, but out here in southwestern Virginia, a lot of those programs are vastly underfunded. We've made a small dent with a GoFundMe. The link is in my bio. In my link tree. But wait, that's not all. My youngest son, Joshua, discovered a passion for swimming, and he joined the middle school swimming team. He's gained a lot of confidence and a lot of stamina over the last 3 months, and I'm very proud of him. I'm thankful for that too. In late October, we got a visit from the county because of a sewage smell coming from the nearby creek. So they were checking the plumbing in all the houses. They had us flush some goo down the toilet, and lo and behold, it turns out our upstairs bathroom was still hooked up to the old sewage system that drained out into the creek, while the downstairs bathroom and the kitchen were hooked up to the new sewage system that drained into the sewer. We were afraid we were going to have to fork over the money for a complete repipe. However, the plumber from the county convinced his boss that this was actually something that was missed when they converted all of these old houses over to sewer, because it used to be that everybody's sewage drained into the creek. They had to dig up the driveway, but at least our plumbing works now, which I'm thankful for. Throughout all of this, my wife has continued selling Tupperware, even in a neck brace. She seems to be doing really well. She really enjoys doing it, and she certainly loves her cooking gadgets, which, again, I'm thankful for. Speaking of the neck brace, we just went to the doctor the other day, and the neurosurgeon officially said she can take off the neck brace now, which I'm thankful for. She is also outside the window of being a stroke risk because of the vein in her neck, which I'm also thankful for. Although she will continue taking one baby aspirin a day, probably for life, just to make sure. And to all those who might be saying, just go get a better job with better benefits. Doesn't sound like you have a single problem that money won't fix. You would be absolutely right, and I have filled out over 200 job applications this year. Jobs that I'm either qualified or overqualified for. I have had 5 job interviews as a result. One turned out to be an MLM. One interview went incredibly well, and they told me that we were moving to the next phase. And then inexplicably, I got an email that said, never mind. The other 3 interviews also went fairly well, and I'm thinking I'm being moved to the next phase, but I'm waiting to hear back. So here's to hoping that 2024 brings some success.